I want to pray in real time. Just to, um, the difference between confession and testimony is slight. The the uh, the the difference between testimony and confession is slight, and we should remind ourselves. And this is even in I don't know much about Catholicism, but I recognize it as truly, the stone. You know, there is a rise of orthodoxy, Eastern Orthodoxy, generally speaking, and the Catholic Church needs it, and the Catholic Church wouldn't have stood without it because it's the ruminant, it's the underbelly of the stone, of the rock, Cephas, Cephas. But we needed that stone, and in so much as, like, I hate to say it, but like, in so much as like Russian Orthodoxy or any of the Soviet or Slavic orthodoxies, so far as that 70 something period, whatever, period of, communism in Russia, like, they dropped the ball and they wouldn't be here now if Catholicism hadn't, and that goes for too, like, the way God works. Why do things happen the way things happen? And it's erroneous to think that whether you're talking about the Jews, whether you're talking about, I don't even know what the right term is, um, black people in America, and everything in between. The key component is othering, is the institution of slavery, which is historic. It's not affixed to any race. Slavery still exists today in a very large way. It has went more underground because it's become rightfully more shameful. Getting off the point. I was about to pray and then I was like, I'm going to record this. Why? I guess you could say I'm there's no template. Um, there's no template for what I'm doing. I'm laying my life rather bare. Um, I will bear it out more as time goes on, but it must progress in a certain way. But I will give it all. The only question is if it will be enough. And I say it all. Meanwhile, I'm well fed. I do live day to day, and I do live paycheck to paycheck. So, catastrophe is always on a very short horizon. Yet, here I am. 45, I think. 45-ish. I'm 45, I'm pretty sure. I might be 46. What year is it? 2022. I'm 45. So I guess the prayer that I wanted to pray today had to do with the fact that it's been rainy, drizzly the last few days, so, the doldrums are. I wouldn't say they're necessarily creeping in, but they are. The doldrums are within a tight periphery. And during the day, when I go to work, when I'm in the world, there's a couple things. One is that I have kind of like an internal Tourette's syndrome. When I look at a person, an explosion happens in my mind, right? Anybody. Guy at the gas pump. I have a very kind of limited life by my own, choices, habits. I go to the store. I go to the grocery store. I go to the car store. I go to the work. I go to the convenience store to get lunch, or the country store to get lunch. Every other weekend I go down to the weed store. It ain't great. But all day long I'm just like, I'm such a fool. All day long I'm just trying to fight that voice. Even though, see, this is the thing. I am a fool. But spending all day calling myself a fool is worse than being a fool. It's terrible. It's awful. It's harmful, you know? The reason why I'm saying this is because there's an unserved population. And for some reason, I historically consider myself an unserved population until one day I realized that's my message. And, well, it's part of it. And I've been praying to God for the answer, and God's like, tell the truth, tell the truth, tell your truth, tell it, tell it, tell it, tell it. Tell it like it is. You're watching this tomorrow. It ain't like this no more, except for that bridge through time. Because there's nothing new under the sun. Depends what we mean by new. But yeah, I spend all day hating on myself. And whether or not I'm drinking, like if I'm drinking, it takes me a beer and about a third a bottle of wine. So, well, a big beer. About a beer and about a third a bottle of wine, and then I'm like, then I start remembering the story that churns for me at night. It churns during the day too. And whenever I think of certain things, when I think of St. Agnes, when I think of St. Anne, when I think of Queen Anne, when I think of Queen Anne's lace, wild carrot, there are some things I think of when I think of the turquoise or the indigo of a turkey. With the red. There are certain things that remind me of the story that swirls both beneath, below, and above, upon high. The story of the story that swirls below and above, Anyway, I spent all day, from the moment I woke up until, I don't know, maybe a half hour ago, 40 minutes ago, an hour ago, just hating. And then I was watching one of my one of my videos from a couple months back, maybe. And I can't remember. It was Soul. It was, I think, one of my first Soul videos. It was like 13 minutes long, 13 and change. And 1340, something like that, 46. And that reminded me and some of the patterns in that, which I'd come to years ago, but only recently animated and published, so to speak, uploaded. Then in some of the symbols I've come to in other ways since, they coalesce. The symbol in that first Soul video coalesces with the image in the video where I burnt my beard, that 2-hour video I made, I don't know, again, a couple months back, right? Several. In prominent places, by accident and on purpose. Everything just kind of keeps building. Like, I see it. If I'm crazy, I'm crazy. And I'm certainly that. But something's happening bigger than me, through me, and I'm witnessing it, right? So anyway, my prayer for today. I was going to try to pray the way I pray because recently, again, I've begun to kind of pray out loud. And it's been pragmatically helpful. There are things I don't talk about that are going on in my life that are very distressing. Maybe some day I will if the time's right. I speak a lot like I know a lot of shit. As it so happens, I don't. And the thing I know the least about is my own life and the way to interact with the people in my life, which is becoming increasingly restricted. Because I have more and more difficulty dealing with people in an unreligious or unphilosophical way. I don't know how to relate. The house I was working at today, like, the guy was watching soccer, and sometimes cerebral people or lazy people, well, I'm cerebral and I'm lazy and I'm klutzy. So people like me quite often deride people in sports. Oh, sports, oh, sports. Even though sports are a major sports fulfill the same thing within an audience that, sacrifices and gladiatorial fights, and wars, for that matter, battles. So, you're at this huge European soccer football stadium, and you have these flowing masses and people getting really mad, but, that's a battle. and it's been transformed into like entertain. It's real, it's visceral, right? So there's that. So like that's a major historical innovation. Major. But also it's amazing, it is amazing to witness physical quote unquote perfection or the striving for perfection. The competitive nature that most of the time is civil. There are rivalries, violence comes up, all that kind of thing, but it's certainly more civil than sticking a sword in the other guy, or animal, or person, or an animal's horn into a person, etc. That's a major innovation. Um, but then also, yeah, the true athleticism. And first of all, there's the logical components of the game itself. So that's interesting. That's intellectually interesting. And then the physical capacities exhibited like in real time, and witnessing that and having a visceral response that somehow corresponds to movements that we cannot quantitatively, as the perceiving individual, we can't quantitate. You know, when a soccer player does some big old, roundhouse kick up around the back into the goal, I can't fucking do that. Most all y'all can't do that. That dude did that. But yet there's some sort of sense for it. When we all rise to our feet. Ah! And it doesn't really matter how philosophical you are, because that's another kind that it's a the movement of the body is a qualitative mathematics. Like, that's amazing. So, for instance, my entire channel, me as a person, whatever that is, it makes my presentation, both what I am and the way I present myself, create a synopsis. And I would say the synopsis of what I present would probably stereotypically fit a stereotype of someone who not only isn't, obviously health oriented, physical workout, that kind of thing, right? And because of that, one might think that I would deride that because of my crustiness. But I don't. I think it's fucking amazing. I think it's awesome. Truly, truly amazing. Like these guys, I haven't become jaded. I've become something else. But it's it looks a lot like jaded. But anyway, yeah, this is like the one show I want to see. Right. There's all kinds of shit that would be cool to see, but there's no way I'm gonna put my effort into it. But I would love to see this fucking show. Right? Any of the dudes in this show could kick any motherfucker's ass. Right? And they're dancing, making music, working in conjunction together in communion. Like that's a physical, amazing, awesome. You know. And I hate myself for not being like that. That's, I guess that's part of the prayer. Like, I really hate myself for not being like that. And that brings up two other little thoughts to other little prayers. Is like, well, please God, I pray that I don't hate myself for not being as awesome as they are. Right? God says, okay, granted, you're forgiven. But then there's another part that says, oh yeah, and also, dear God, that's really fucking awesome, and I want to be like that. And I don't want to be sorry for not being that. I want to be that. I'm sorry for the hubris of being like that. Why? Because part of the reason I pray for that is, well, I want to be like a superhero. I want to be kung fu, you know? I want to be acrobat. I want to be peak perfect physical condition, as if that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing, especially if it's connected with art and philosophy and religion. To my mind. And math. Everything. Health, nutrition. I have great appreciation for things that I don't engage in. I engage in too much of this because I'm living day to day. Because honestly, I know it sounds shit. I know it sounds shit. And it's kind of shitty. And I know it sounds shit, but the things I'm dealing with, there aren't books for. There's nowhere to go. There's no guru who can help. I shouldn't say that. Books can help. Gurus can help. Art can help. Hanging out with friends can help. A good meal can help. Everything helps. Answers come slow. And beyond the threshold, answers only come from Anyway, what I was gonna pray about was, that first soul video I made. I was reminded of how I was led to these beautiful patterns of geometric configurations of repeated Archimedes / Pythagorean spiral geometries that themselves were only partial and also around every point of the radial root architecture was a seed of life. That was just a little paperwork. It was like this great accidental gift of I know it's art, I know it's not like real, but in a very rational, geometric, mathematical way, it speaks to so many things. Historical, like internal, historic symbolically, historic artistically, historic visually, and personally. It's it's more than it seems to be more than a Rorschach's test. These images that have, for whatever reason, come through me, which are low resolution compared to the resolution of the day, but are more. There are a lot of pictures that are way like better, but there's something so infinitely beautiful and refined about these simple pictures and the essentially the ways they depict infinite rational harmonics. Anyway, so my prayer that I was about to pray before I started pressing record, and now I'm praying it with a different tenor, with a different temperament, is I wish during the day when I was out and about, I wish I could remember that part of me I like and value. Because, like, here now at night, and even if I weren't drinking, it would still be this way because there's that thing about night. You know, the poetic, prayerful thought of night. If you're so inclined. And it takes till about this time of day, which is, what time is it? I'm not sure if this is on. 8:55 p.m. Yeah. About this time of night or the next couple hours. Something reflective. What I'm trying to do sounds screwed up, I know, because I'm such a buffoon, but I'm trying to leave a legacy. I'm trying to leave a trail of crumbs. I'm on a path, definitely. And I might get I'm I'm probably going to die long before you get anywhere of value. But if that means I'm your Chester Copperpot, and you'll have to watch Goonies if you haven't already to figure out the reference, but Chester Copperpot died and scared the shit out of all the Goonies, right? So it was like a bad part of the movie, like they found Chester Copperpot and he died, and he's dead and everybody freaks out, But Mikey knew as soon as he took one step further than Chester Copperpot. Mikey knew they were on the right path. And they did better than him. They did better than that old dude. So, I don't want to be Chester Copperpot. I want to be Goonies Mikey. I want to let the ship free and fucking get the rubies, But if I have to beat Chester Copperbot, so be it. If Chester Copperbot hadn't come along, Mikey wouldn't have had that article to read to go out and find One-Eyed Willie in the first place. So that old dead fucker who failed paved the way for little Mikey, pure of heart, to win the day. I am not pure of heart, but I serve. To 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 the extent that I serve, to the extent that I have capacity or capability to serve, I serve. The true heart of little Mikey. Now, is there that part of me that wants all the treasure in the whole fucking ship and as bad of dudes as those other fucking bad dudes in Goonies and fucking the throw mama from the train lady? I guess you could say I'm all that bad shit too. I mean, not that bad. I'm not a gangster murderer, but we don't know what wickedness we would do if we were in different circumstances, and I'm quite sure if I were, because a lot of times I do be like, God, what the fuck, man? Why'd I have to be like this? Why'd you have to put me here? Why my folks got to be this way? Why my friends got to be that way? Why do I got to be this way, right? But I guess no matter where we are, so long as we're still above ground, we got to really take a look around and be like, man, shit could have been way worse. I could have been a way worse of person in a way worse of a situation, doing much more harm to many more people and myself and my soul. It's hard to remind myself of that. And it's one of the only things that's keeping me here. In a good way. To do work. So this for me, as silly as I am, is work. It's the only work. I feel like the rest of every other bit of my life is a farce except for sorry for being like about it. It's just I doubt myself. The thing is like doubting ourselves in the right way about the right things. But anyway, in those, I guess just my only prayer was really going to be during the day when I'm really struggling. Quietly. When I'm quietly really struggling. As decrepit as I feel myself to be, to my mind, I'm decrepit. That's my view of myself. There's a lot of supporting evidence. But my prayer was that during the day, if I could do a better job of reminding myself that, like, even though I'm a flawed vessel, even though I'm an imperfect diamond, even though I'm all too human, the light shines even through me. And even my childish efforts. I'm not saying they're all good, but I recognize a brightness that is not mine. Or rather, I recognize a brightness that has been gifted to me, and I'm trying to gift it also. Whole thing might feel like, this just might be a diary that someday the gigabytes will disappear. I imagine one day there'll be a battle for, it might be 10, 100,000 years from now, but someday even storage. People will fight wars over storage someday. If things keep going the way they're going. I don't necessarily think they will, but they might. Unfortunately, the future I see I want it to be now, and I'm not recognizing when I'm seeing. Kind of, sort of.